Hello everybody, welcome back to the workshop. So in this video we're going to make a decorative, you could call this a feather bowl. Now this bowl is a great thing for put display candies in. You could use it as a ring dish. Really it's meant to be a decorative display, more like a centerpiece if you will, in the center of somebody's table. So keep that in mind when you're making it. Again, this is just meant to kind of have the essence of a feather, if you will. You could also change up some of the texture pattern and make it more of a leaf. That's perfectly fine. But I've got some lines laid out here. These layout lines, again, I've got one big long straight line and a couple little cut lines to just give it some extra dimension, and then we're going to texture this a lot, and then we're going to give it its final form. But I want to leave a little vein right down the center, as most feathers have that little sharp ridge right up the center and then the fluffiness off the side. This is a great way of doing it. Now we are starting with a piece of 1/8 inch flat stock, or 4 mil if you will, flat stock, 3.5 mil flat stock, somewhere around there. You can choose what you want. A little thicker could be better, like say 1/4 inch plate could give you a lot more dimension that you can do with, a lot more texture, but 1/8 inch is a lot easier to cut out. Also, I'd like to mention that I will try to take and make a template of this and put this online if I can. So I will try to take and go ahead and draw out a template, so this way you can take and print that off, and that is a free template that you can pick up over at blacksmithpdfs.com. So I will go ahead and hammering this. We're using a butcher, and I'm just following along my layout line, nice and even like with this butcher, and I'm laying this out cold first, because then I have an actual line I can follow with these when the thing is hot. These butchers are actually made to be used while the piece is cold to begin with, so they're actually tempered very hard, very tough. These are made from some coil spring. If you have interest in a video for that, I'll put a link to making chasing tools on the screen now. Should be coming up in the top somewhere corner of the screen. I think it'll be your top right hand corner. But anyways, so we're going to just add those lines in there, and then we're going to end up getting this thing hot. Now I've got my forge up nice and hot, got a nice broad heat. If you don't have, how do I want to say, if you do not have a coal forge to work in, a gas forge is perfect for this sort of thing if you've got a big enough opening, because you can really fit all the piece in at once. I'm working with a coke forge, and that is very handy because I can shape out a pretty big pile of coke and get exactly what I'm after. So I like that. So again, we're just chasing to the other side of that line. Hopefully you all can see that now. We're starting to cut down that double cut there. And I'm going to come down, and as I come to the tip, so I'm going to go straight for a while, but as I come to the tip, I'm going to start angling in and narrowing this cut line as I go. We're not going to do that just yet, but ever so slightly, I'm narrowing it into the next line. That's going to give it the effect of that feather. Now, as I'm sitting here talking about this, as you clicked on the video, this is a great $125 item that you can sell on your online store. You can make it out of copper, bronze, brass. There's a lot of different options for you there. You'll just have to handle the finish work of this bowl with care. So as long as you invest nicely into your finish work and spend the time there, that should not be a problem getting about that price out of the bowl. Okay, so there we go. We've got that line chased in there. Hopefully you all can see that nice and like. Now I'm going to use a curved butcher, which has an inside curve, so it's flat on the inside, and it has the butcher, the leading edge, on the outside of the curve. And I'm going to set that where I've drawn those curved marks. Just going to give it a little whack or two, not going too far right now. That's not the point. Again, making a curved butcher like this allows you to get stuff to look pretty even and cohesive, which is good. And again, it gives this a lot more dimension than what it otherwise might have had you not put in the curved butcher lines. Then we'll come down the other side of the piece. Same thing. Put the curved butcher where I want it. You guys will start seeing those lines hopefully develop there in the camera. So now I'm going to continue going right on down, putting in these curved lines. It's a pretty easy thing to do. And now we're ready for the hot work. So I've put in all those lines cold. I can come back and find those lines and we'll dress that up once this piece is hot. It's good to keep a really loose, wide fire when doing this. So let's kick on that blower and get her good and hot. Once this is up to temp, I will be right back with you. So we've got this piece nice and hot. Really nice even heat. We're going to lay it on the anvil. It's a little cold in the shop today, so it'll begin to suck that heat out pretty darn quick, but that's okay. We don't need it to hold heat too long. We just need to be able to come along this pretty quick and chase in our center vein. You want to use nice even hits on this piece. Your gloves will heat up on a plate this big, so be careful. As you work back towards your colder end, you'll want to go ahead and hit this a little harder as you go. Again, we're trying to get one side done at a heat that's probably about appropriate if we can. That will allow us to get the depth in what we're looking for, but you don't want to go too far with this because we don't want to chop down through the piece. And again, this is only 1/8 inch plate or 4mm plate. Now for those of you that don't want to go to the website and pick up the template, I did not mention it earlier, but this piece right now that I'm working on is about 13 inches long. The one in the template will be about 10 inches long. That way I can fit it on an 8.5 by 11 copy sheet of paper. That way it's easy to trace out, or it's easy to cut out, so to speak. So we've got that done. Put that back in there. So we got one whole line chased in that instance, so you can tell that this won't take too indefinitely long, so that's a good thing. Get this heated back up, cover it up a bit, and we'll continue. So at this point in time, while that heats back up, I'd like to thank you for joining me today in the workshop. I hope that this video will be informative to you. Check out, if you're new here, check out the rest of the channel. There's over 1,100 videos here on the subject of blacksmithing for you to get better at the craft. A bunch of tutorials, a bunch of business advice, inspirational content, you name it. So to check it all out, see what you like, and hopefully you'll consider subscribing. Also, if you would like to take and support this channel and what Jessica and I do, a great way of doing that is checking out our website over at blacksmithpds.com and possibly consider purchasing either an ebook that Jessica and I wrote or a power hammer plan or tooling plan bundle of some kind. That goes, every dollar of that goes to take and help support the channel and creating and continuing to produce great content here on YouTube. Alright, so we almost got this getting hot here. It's almost there. Almost. Good enough. Let's bring it out. Let's go over here now with it. See where we're at. Alright, now we're going to go to the other side of this thing. There we go, that's driving out nicely. It's going to get mighty hot on the hands while you're wearing a glove, but that's okay. You just have to take a break if you need to. don't quench your glove. Just shake that glove off if it gets too hot, and let it cool down naturally. Again, right on up the way we go. Nicely done. And we're almost there. A little more. A little more. And voila. Okay, so now we've got this center line done. Hopefully you all can see that just fine. So the center line is done. We do not have to do the exterior lines because those were hammered in pretty hard to begin with. Now it's time to heat this up and do our texturing to the leaf, or to our feather, if you will. I hope you guys can tell how interesting this looks. Hopefully you guys are liking this so far. But one of the things that I like about chisel work with lines, just a couple simple butchers and chiseled lines on a piece can really make the difference in a piece. I mean, you can really change the overall look of a piece like 110%. You really, really can. And that's one of the things I like about, you know, this type of forging work and whatnot. I really like how easy it is to really change the looks of a piece. Okay, this is good and hot. I have switched to a sharper cross-peen hammer, and I'm going to work down one side of the leaf, staying off, I keep calling it a leaf, it's a feather, Roy, a feather. I'm going to work in a repeatable pattern and stay off that center vein. I don't want to beat out that center vein or all that detail. I just want to work right up to it. Hopefully that makes sense. We just want to work right up to it. So you really want to take your time with this. Again, we don't want to get any cross blows that are whacking across that center vein. We want that to define each side of our leaf. So don't get in a rush. Let your hammer blows radiate from that center and go from there. Go ahead and keep heating that up. Again, this is supposed to be a nice feather, a feathering look. Obviously, it's not a real feather. We're not trying to go for realism here. All right. It's going, going, going. We're almost hot again. Just going. So we'll continue to hammer this right along. Take our time with it. And again, stay off our details. The hotter this is, the deeper your sharp cuts will hammer in, and ultimately the better it will look. So you don't have to hammer so darn hard to get the look you're after. So there you go, there's the feathering starting. Now we'll work the other side. Now the other side's a bit of a mixed bag of worms because it forces you to try to hammer the opposite way. There's a couple ways around this. You can grip it by the tip of the leaf and then again try to keep the angle, but it's very difficult. This is where if you have a specialized hammer, it's a lot nicer if you have a specialized hammer to work on this piece, to hammer it the opposite direction. Or you can just turn your arm way out. Again, it causes you to have to hold this at an unnatural angle. It can be done. And this is not ideal for accuracy, so it takes a little bit of practice. And if you're just starting out, you may want to take and practice with your hammer blows a lot before attempting this project on a scrap piece of plate doing the same exact thing. Because it does, unfortunately, take some extra practice to hold a piece of stock this way. There's nothing wrong with that. It's just kind of the process, if you know what I mean. Again, we'll continue to get that nice and hot. And we'll keep going to town. So I'm doing this a little bit in kind of real time because I kind of want you guys to see what it takes to do this project and not have a whole lot of jump scenes here, so you get an ideal. I've been doing this for 10 years. I've been forging for 10 years, so wherever your current skill level's at, you might add a little extra time because you're not as practiced maybe as somebody who has 10 years of experience. But don't let that discourage you either. Don't let that discourage you either. Because it is a fairly simple product that you could be making for yourself. All right, that's looking good. I'm going to straighten this out. I just tell time frames so this way you can make a choice on what would work best for you. Again, there's our feather so far. Now we're going to flip it around completely. And we are going to take and roll the stem. That's the next step in the process. We'll cool down this forge a bit. I don't need it that hot for 1/8 inch plate. What are you doing, Roy? I'm going to keep with this rounded hammer. That's going to be nice. So I'll stay the course with that. Get my piece and a pair of tongs. Find a good fit on them here. Oh, yoy. It's important to find a good fitting pair of tongs that'll do what you need to do. Okay. We're going to just turn this straight up on the anvil, and we're going to hit it. And I might have to thin it just in the center just a little bit, just to create an area where it wants to fold at naturally, which I'm doing now. And then we're just trying to get this to roll. And I'll have to heat this back up to get it to do what I really want it to do. But it'll get there. So we're just rolling that up just like the stem of a feather. Now if you don't want to do that, you could leave it flat. You could take that tail, you could punch it and bend it back over itself and make like an incense burner. You guys seen some of those? There's a lot of different options you can do with this type of work. Really is sky's the limit. You're only limited by your creativity. Use another clip. All right, nice and hot. I'm gonna hammer right in close to the feather area. Try to dry that material down. You don't have to make this super crazy. You do want to, however, point the end of it just a bit. it does look like the quill of a feather. And there you go. So that's it for that bit. Plus, that now gives us a handhold that we can grip it with another pair of tongs, and now we can dish out the rest of this in a wood block. So I will go ahead and heat this up now, and I'll be right back with you after I get the wood block set up and we're ready to take and do the dishing. Okay, so we have this piece good and hot now. We're gonna flip it over with the vane side down, and I'm going to focus first and foremost, before I do any sort of dishing the opposite direction, I'm going to try to hammer out those lobes with a flatter trajectory cross peen and try to give it a little more shape first. So we're gonna go to the wood block, and we're gonna just hammer right in the center of those things. So we want to give them a little bit of curvature. And the great way of doing that is to give that little bit of a curvature to them from the back side over a wood block. So I'm hammering right between the crooks of each one of the pieces of the leaf, if you will, to create some bulges there. Hopefully you guys can see that. I'm hammering right here and here in between the leaves and leaving a low area in between. And I'm going to repeat that process all the way up the shank here. So let me put that back in the fire. Crank that up. Grab this thing again, Mr. Pointer. Put it somewhere more available. And we're just going to continue to hammer. Now this is just an oak block, like a red oak block. You could do this with just about anything, and there's a very smallish depression. Again, it's kind of igniting on fire and blowing away as I hammer here. And that's what I'm wanting it to do. Again, we're just getting this to be heated up. It'll take a minute. And once we got these lobes done, once we got the individual lobes done, then we can flip it around and we can give this thing a little bit of back shaping, again, to give it the type of curves that we may be wanting. Again, just aiming. You may be asking yourself, Roy, why the cross peen though? And the reason for the cross peen is, say, the broader ball peens or something like that, although they might take and push out stuff, they push it out in the wrong dimension. You want the arch to go this way, and you don't want it to do too much this way. It looks a lot more natural that way, in my opinion anyhow. However humble or not non-humble that opinion may be. So we'll get this good and hot again. Try and do this as much real time as I can. Hopefully you're enjoying this video so far. Okay, now I can go ahead and hammer those lobes on the other side. I'm going to switch to my left hand because I am ambidextrous, so that's a benefit. There we go. Now we got to turn it into a bowl. Now, this is where I want to point out, it's the little things that will count in this. We're going to heat this whole piece up, and now we're going to start to dish it. We're going to use a wooden mallet in conjunction with a wooden depression. I'm going to flip it over and use my bowl depression from the other side. While that still heats, add just a little bit of water to this depression as well. Not that it's going to make a big difference, but it'll just help protect some of this block since I'm working steel on it hot. Okay, wooden mallets out. And now I'm going to hammer straight down. Hammer that corner off. Give myself a little bit of curvature up with my leaves by hammering on the side profile. In that same wooden depression. And we're getting there. Now, the rest of this is purely up to you. You do as much or as little of this process as you would like. There is no right and wrong answer here on a feather. Feathers come in all sorts of shapes and sizes. It really is up to you. So if you made it to this far in the video, go ahead and say, "Hey Roy, I'm your biggest fan. I made it." Now, whether you are my biggest fan or not, who knows? But can't really check on that, you know. But I'll believe you. One way or the other. So there we go. Little loose forming of this bowl. And voila, just like that, we are done. Let me get this here. Now I'm going to come back through after it's all said and done here. After everything's said and done, I'll come back through and really wire wheel this up, turn it up real nice. But I want to show you what it looks like with just a brushed finish. All right, and there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. There is one $125 feather bowl. Hopefully you all enjoyed this video. If you did, remember to leave a like and comment down below what you thought. Also, if you'd be interested in seeing a video of me finishing this leaf in one of my finishes and going through the entire finish process, start to finish, let me know in the comment section down below. So without further ado, I'm going to get back to smithing. Thank you all so much for watching. God bless you, and we'll catch you on the next one.